pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Okay, we have a very short agenda tonight. That's because we didn't have a lot of activity going on today, but we do have a budget workshop on Wednesday, and which we will definitely spend a lot of time together. So this is perfect timing for this meeting. So first thing, to approve the agenda. Anyone have any changes, questions to the agenda? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second by Amy Jurek. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the agenda is approved. First thing, Mike?
You have in your packet information from City Engineer Chris Cavett. City staff had a meeting with MNDOT, Scott County, Chris Cavett as a representative for LeSueur County, and staff taking a look at the ongoing discussions about potential improvements out at the intersection of Highway 19 East, County Road 89 for Scott County, and CASAW 3 for LeSueur County. Historically, in the past, the discussions that have gone on with LeSueur County taking the lead to try to put together a potential roundabout project out at this intersection. And I think we've done, or they've done 3 or 4 HSIP applications, which is a safety application to the feds, to try to get funding to improve this, have all been unsuccessful. That apparently it doesn't meet the warrants and the needs to justify the cost to construct those improvements. Gentleman that we had with us from MNDOT that had a conversation with us indicated, who sat on the review committee of these type of applications statewide, indicated that they were going to have to come up with something of a lesser scale to attempt to modify what's being proposed to try to address some of the safety concerns. There was a new analysis, safety analysis done by Bolton.
Intersection control evaluation. Yep.
Intersection control evaluations, an ICE study for short, done by Bolton and Mink. And so as we met with the 2 different agencies in the state highway, you can see included in your packet is a conceptual drawing of a new turn lane concept out on the highway, and this proposed improvement that would be submitted, the application is due to be completed and turned into MNDOT by MNDOT on November 1st. So it's really a short time frame to get together and take a look at it. But you can see conceptually on there is that they would try to provide for protected turn lanes and a slight widening or expansion within the existing right-of-way area to go around some of those left-turning lanes or the movements. However, it will require either the realignment or removal of the driveway into the Chevy dealership and to the storage sheds there. There is back access, platted highway access off CASAW 3 coming in, and so they haven't worked out all the logistics of precisely what would have to go on, but it would necessitate obviously significant landowner participation and involvement in reaching agreement on what could be done if this is to be installed. So what the purpose of the meeting was to conceptually, was to have discussion to see if Scott County, LeSueur County, and MNDOT could get on the same page that this is obviously outside of our city limits. We have no control, no authority over any of this other than it's the gateway or entrance to the city of New Prague, and we know that it's been an ongoing issue for some time. The green just shows you where the roadways would ultimately tie in under the roundabout scenario, so that's not proposed to be part of the improvement. But the areas in yellow, and I think it's kind of light blue and purple with what shows up on your map, is an attempt to provide some turning lanes and some expanded go-around areas on either side of those intersections. So I don't have a lot more to provide. Glenn, is there anything you can think of that I've missed? That it's really a short-term solution that I think they all indicated it is not necessarily the preferred alternative, but it is probably the most plausible and feasible short of the complete reconstruction of a roundabout.
Wasn't it even determined that if a roundabout was put in, that the entrance from the car dealership was going to have to be closed also?
You're correct. On this drawing here, it does show that closure as
Closed.
well.
Okay.
But they're not going to go out and to, anytime you typically get into these situations, if there's a road closure, generally the property owners are looking for compensation for that closure. We're not certain exactly what would be involved in attempting to recreate the new entrance off Cassaw 3 and just how far extensively they go, that if they close it and they rebuild the new access to the other parts of that, we're not aware of all of those particulars. MnDOT would end up handling that by way of meeting with the property owners that are affected by the proposed improvement.
Okay.
They didn't give us a timeline necessarily, other than it could still be several years, but starting to try to get the funding. This would be for 2019, I believe.
They talked about 2020, and we said, well, that wouldn't make a lot of sense if Main Street's happening.
Yeah, we don't want it done that same year,
So it was highly suggested to do it before 2020.
Okay.
So it's our obligation to kind of just let you know that this is the next step. It's the new applicant submitting the application, that being MnDOT. The scope of the proposed safety improvement has changed. We have no obligation really to do much of anything other than they're looking for a letter of support on behalf of the city if we are interested in approving such.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
What's the preferred, what was the preferred, is this on what you have up there, Ken, is that what the preferred site was?
The ultimate design would be the construction of a roundabout at that intersection. But you're taking a look at a lot of land acquisition, a lot of highway reconstruction, and in their opinion, it doesn't meet the warrants and the needs to justify the significant expenditure to construct that improvement at the current time.
Right.
Cost-benefit ratio is not matching competitively with other projects.
Okay.
So we have a draft letter in there that, with your approval, the mayor and I would sign and submit to MnDOT for their grant application due November 1st.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I do. Somehow, looking at this, I see a temporary project turning into a long-term fix. Because if you do what you're doing, what is planned here, yes, you are going to decrease the accidents at those two intersections. So your ratio of, what did you call it, Ken?
Cost benefit.
Cost to benefit is going to go down. So therefore, if you follow that line of thinking, the preferred one is never going to happen. To me, you could accomplish the same thing by putting a sign next to Eastwood Acres in that area, which is just about a half mile to the east of this intersection, that says, dangerous intersections ahead. Speed limit to be reduced by, let's say, to 45 miles per hour. Doing that, I think, would accomplish the same thing that this is doing.
We talked about the speed study in that area, and they've done speed studies in there, and they basically establish speed limits that coincide with the public's confidence of what they can drive, and they don't honestly believe that reducing the speed limit is going to do anything to change the driving activities that are occurring in that area, that we asked that as an alternative, and they don't believe that that's an appropriate solution.
Well, pardon me, but that's a pretty standard response to their studies. And I really believe that, yes, if you don't do something to change people's concept of what they think they can safely drive at, they're never going to change. Unless you put something up there that says, like I mentioned, it dangerous intersections ahead, and then somehow you enforce it. I know that would probably rely upon new Prague police, but
Well, it's obviously outside our current city limits, so we have no jurisdiction. We've been an advocate to try to get something to get done. We met with those agencies 3 or 4 years ago to come up with the ultimate preferred design. It's been through 3 or 4 rounds of safety applications to get something done. It's been denied, turned down. They will not build that, and they said that point blank. It doesn't meet the cost-benefit analysis to invest those dollars. So either we sit back and we take a passive position and don't do anything, or we try to find some interim solution until it reaches the point that it justifies that. Those are your alternatives.
yeah, I understand that, Mike.
Well, I don't,
For all
I
those
don't, I don't disagree with you, Dave, but if we don't go forward on this, I don't think that roundabout is ever gonna come about anyways. Because basically, until you start having casualties, accidents are one thing, but casualties are the other thing. And they basically told us that. And you know, you can have as many accidents you want, but as long as there's no casualties, it doesn't get put on the radar. There's probably countless other spots like this in the state of Minnesota with the same kind of issues.
Yeah, I realize that, and I'm fully aware of that. I'm just trying to suggest that MNDOT change their thinking a little bit and start doing something to try doing a little bit differently, or, I don't know, maybe it means changing their, somehow to get the legislator to change their funding mechanism. But my opinion is that doing what they're doing is minimizing a problem and never going to do what I think will fully alleviate that problem. Still going to be there, and it's never going to get changed.
Well, I can tell you other projects that I've worked with the state of Minnesota on various projects that common sense solutions seem plausible and feasible, but under their policies and procedures and how they go about it, they stand pretty firm and pretty tough. And so from the standpoint of us wanting to get anything done, if we choose to leave it as is, you'd have a much better chance of leaving it as is versus doing what you're asking for. They won't touch it.
Yeah, I realize that. I just have to voice my opinion, and
So we tried to.
I can say something.
We've
Not
tried to
gonna make a
facilitate the interaction and the discussion with those other agencies, even though it's not inside our jurisdiction, to see what we can do, because we know it's a very challenging area. The alignment is not good. And it doesn't appear that that's going to get changed by either county anytime soon. And so do we find some middle ground at this point and hope that that helps reduce the impacts that we've been seeing?
Okay.
So.
Any other comments? If not, I guess I'll look for a motion to approve the letter of endorsement.
So moved.
Excuse me, a motion, Sean, you did it?
Yeah.
Motion by Sean Ryan. I guess I'll second it. If there's any other further comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Now we go on to the next topic, consent agenda. Any questions in the consent agenda? If not, I guess I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion by Dave Brusick, second by Sean Ryan. Any comments, questions? If not, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Next, we come to the fun part, miscellaneous. Glenn, anything?
Nothing more than if you've driven by the baseball field or haven't driven by, drive by. All the block is up on the concession building and the bathroom. So the next step would be to put up rafters and the roof. They got the post in for the new fencing on the south side of, or on the north side of the complex. So now the next step would be to pour the sidewalk behind the curb and finish that concrete up, and then the actual chain link fencing can go up. So it's coming along. Northside Park is tied up and secure. We got to do some painting there, which don't know if that's going to happen, but that's taken care of. So other than that, I got nothing.
Okay.
Glenn, is it ahead of schedule because of the weather at all?
The
Baseball?
The baseball? I'm not sure that we ever had a definite schedule. There's days I'm going, why aren't we working? So it's going well. The weather's helped.
There's a substantial completion date, which I think is sometime in early November.
A substantial completion.
Substantial
Right.
completion. Final completion's not till next spring.
Right. So we didn't really have a definite schedule as far as when the block's got to be done or the roof's got to be on and things like that. It's going good. I mean, once they tear into it, it seems to take off and we see some progress.
Are they going to still wrap the grandstand this fall?
They're supposed to.
Okay.
That I can tell the material is sitting in the parking lot.
Oh, that's those boxes along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would assume that's going to happen.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
When do we plan to bid the next phase?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
When do we plan to bid the next phase?
We're working on that right now. We'll be getting started at most of next, the phase 2 is the lighting. And so we'll be working with Bruce at the electric and Brian Jurdy now that we're where we're at, that's really the next discussion within the baseball committee is the lighting discussion.
Yep.
How's the fundraising going? Do you know, Mike, at all?
It's really early. It's in progress.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Thanks, Glenn. Ken, anything?
Oh, nothing.
Chuck, you got anything you want to bring to the table? Mary Jo, we got a lot of time to hear about Italy.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. But you had a great time? Oh, awesome.
Excellent.
Good. Good. Mike?
Well, we finally have some good news in the sense, project we've been talking about since February of 2014, and that was trying to work with the federal government to reclaim title to essentially our armory property down by Memorial Park. And on Friday, I got emailed a document, and today we actually received in the mail the real document, that being the termination of the land lease and release of the quitclaim deed restrictions on the former Army Reserve Training Center here in New Prague. The lease, which was originally entered into on May 5th, 1958, amended in November of 61, and then the Army terminated their portion of the lease, and we received a quitclaim deed from the Parks, Federal Lands to Parks program in revisions and quitclaim deed restrictions dated March 7th of 1997. That original 99-year lease isn't due to expire till May 5th of 2057. So as we started the process, the intent was to try to get those restrictions released, cleaned up, so that we had complete ownership and control of that property. As of today, we have that document in hand finally. We submitted a letter, contacted our Congressman Walz's office back in February of 14. We submitted a formal letter under the mayor's signature to the Parks program out in Boston back in July of 2014, and so as of today, this journey now is finally complete, other than Ken has to take it down to the Seward County and get the document recorded. So as soon as it's recorded, then it will be officially done.
Awesome.
Work.
Yep. So Ken, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, you're running? No, I'm just, no.
So a lot of hands involved in the process with the city attorney and the city staff, and a lot of contacts through Congressman Walz's office out of Mankato, and so we will try to extend a thank you and invite him up for some photo opportunity with the mayor, or something where we can do something to
With a sledgehammer in hand.
acknowledge our receipt and thank you for his efforts in the process. That it went from Boston to Chicago, back to Boston, out to Colorado, back to Boston. So it's been all over the federal government trying to get this done. But Scott Riggs, if he were here, would tell you that even though it seems like this process took a long time, this was a short time in the federal government's process to have gotten this. So we're just glad we could finally do it and not have it cost us anything for actual dollars. Doesn't mean we didn't spend any legal dollars with the city attorney trying to put together revisions and rework of the documents, and that was part of the process that was extremely challenging in getting everybody to understand that in the end we needed not only the release or the termination of the original lease and the amendment, but also the quitclaim deed restrictions, and so it's done.
So Glenn, it's fine as it is through the winter? I mean, it's not we don't have to rush to try to demolish it?
No, it's fine. We've had power and gas turned off to it. Not power, we've had gas turned off to it for quite a while. The only thing we do during the winter is we protect the water line that's coming up into the utility room, and that's just a little hut built around it with little heat. Doesn't cost
Okay.
us much at all. Other than that, everything else is drained. Nope, it's fine, it's good to go. Not a
Okay.
problem.
Will it be ready to be demolished, or does it have to have studies to see what's in it, if it can be demolished?
We're betting that there's probably asbestos inside that building, so we'll have to program and budget for undertaking a specific analysis, and then we'll have to put together demolition specs to do that. So we'll have to program that. The thought process, at least as you'll see in the budget discussions, is our thinking is that long-term is we take a look at it and see what we can do to figure out which type of athletic field might be an appropriate use on that property and what we have to do to utilize it that way. The water treatment plant, thank goodness we never had to deal with the issue, got built on the property when it was under lease to the federal government, and thank goodness they never pushed that issue. But we've got expansion capabilities with the water treatment plant, but technically I think that was done while this lease was in place, and they never pushed the issue. They tried to get us to pay thousands of dollars to get it back because they saw a small building and a piece of ground as an asset, and so finally we were able to convince them to see otherwise, and so you will be able to determine long-term what you think the best use of that property is for the community and how we preserve it and protect it and use it to the best of our abilities.
Mike, what's the size of it? What's the footprint of it?
3.5 acres, Ken?
0.8
3.2?
acres,
Up to,
all the way from Third up to
Lexington?
Second Street, and a portion of that was vacated years back,
And that's including with the water plant, treatment plant
including the
on
water
it?
treatment plant. So if
Okay.
you lop that off, you're half, roughly.
So no expense other than staff time to put into it? I mean, there was
attorney
no compen-
fees.
And attorney fees,
Yeah.
but no compensation for the.
no. Well, we gave it to them for $1, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like we should have had to have paid them anything.
Yeah, we gained $1 on the whole thing.
And in fact, now we get the demolition because under the original lease, that if they were to have returned it to us, it was to have been as they found it when they first got it. But then that leaves another 41 years to get to the end of that process. So better to be in our control.
Yep. Well, good job, guys. Anything else, Mike?
Just budget workshop Wednesday night at 5:30 back at City Hall, and we'll provide dinner.
Okay. Sean?
Nope.
David?
Good.
Janet?
Nope.
Okay, I don't have anything. I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? We're out of here. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you Wednesday night at 5:30.